Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Star Report. It's Jason here at New Dimensions Crystals and Reiki in downtown Brenham, Texas. And the Star Report is for June the 5th through June the 11th, 2024. And everything's still happening. Like stars, the sun, everything's still moving. I guess if you believe the earth is round or whatever, it's still spinning or things are moving because blah, blah, blah. So depending on your cosmology, everything's fine. Or maybe it's not fine, depending on your cosmology. But anyway, let's get right into it. We usually start with the sun. The sun was active, really hasn't settled down. There's been active sunspots and solar flaring that's been happening over the last week, right? And just a reminder, solar flaring usually is going to cause an uptick or an anxiety kind of energy. Like there's a little bit of flow or current moving through you. Sometimes it can trigger cardiac events. Sometimes it can trigger immunoresponses. If you have something chronic like a lupus, you'll have a flare up during solar flares. Um, and then sometimes those solar flares can produce CMEs, coronal mass ejections, things that fly out of the sun and head towards the earth. There was some controversy last week, not controversy, disagreement last week whether something was going to hit us or not, and it ended up not hitting us. But there was a minor impact yesterday. So if you had an uptick in those kinds of feelings, that would have been warranted. From that solar flare, it was a minor one. So X class is usually the bigger ones that are hitting us. M class of the smaller ones, and so it was just an M class light impact, and it really didn't cause a whole bunch of extra solar storms. So it had a minor solar storm effect. I believe that's what's going on with the sun. For the next week, there are still a bunch of active sun spots on the solar disk that are Earth facing, right? So there is still a possibility of eruptions and even bigger into the X class towards us. I believe most of the large plasma filaments, which when those release, that sends a large bunch of material towards the planet or wherever it releases towards. So that's turning away from Earth facing. So that's good. But just sort of pay attention if you sort of feel like a jittery thing. What happens is when that happens on the sun, it's almost an immediate shift here because we're electrically connected, right? So how long does it take for a current to get through to the planet? Usually it's several seconds, several minutes, and then if there's an ejection, then it's a couple days before that will impact us. But the electrical current stuff of it while it's flashing, and that's why even solar flares that don't have a CME affect our mood and the energy that we work in or live in, as it were. We're also still in Gemini season. So Gemini alchemically, right? So the ancients made an alchemical map of how the stars and the planets and the zodiacs affected the body, in which systems were sort of mirrored up with those things. And so in Gemini is the nervous season in the spine, right? So you want to sort of think of just how the nervous system breaks up and starts to go through the body, that you sort of have not right here at the base of the skull, but definitely down into the brain stem and down the spine, wherever the nerves are mostly focused. And so all this extra energy that runs through that, sometimes you can have feelings of anxiety. You could have heart palpitations, but mostly it's just that sort of twinge where you can't really get your back right, or you sort of feel a current that's moving down your back. Some people sort of say that's a spidey sense, right? Where all of a sudden you get a little chill up the spine. That kind of stuff is things that could happen with the energy into the nervous system during Gemini season. We're also still in Pluto retrograde. Pluto, the farthest out planet, really starts to talk about the hidden things that are going on within our body, right? So something far away or deep inside. Pluto really affects our hidden power, right? So this is really the examination of how we have or haven't used our inner strength, our inner talents. Great season for Jason to always think about what you doing in random Texas. You have all this power, go to a big city, get a bigger following, blah blah blah. Leadership is part of that, right? So you might have a hidden power of leadership. You might have it's probably not hidden, but you have a built in, I guess you'd call it hidden power, past life stuff, right? Maybe you've been a leader before and you have that sort of sense that you don't necessarily need to be a general, be a king, be a president, but definitely in your community, in your small groups, even in your family units, you need to embrace that power rather than be passive about it. Also, Pluto being so far out, so deep within, it's old hurts, right? Things that have hurt you long ago, right? So this is maybe some childhood stuff where you never really got over it. That kid that mistreated you on the playground, the parent that, missed a practice or did something even worse, all that kind of stuff. You're sort of releasing those old hurts. But this could even go into karmic hurts, right? So this could be old hurts from other lifetimes, right? And so they wouldn't have a logical understanding to them, meaning there's no logical explanation that happened to you in this life for those old hurts to be there. Pluto also helps us in retrograde remove triggers, right? So a lot of times we might be triggered by things and not know it or not see it coming or not be able to deal with the trigger once it happens. Pluto sort of helps take that hair trigger out. And really how it sort of does as sort of accepting your inner world, your shadow self, right? The stuff that you were ashamed of, or it wasn't as good as everybody else. Those things that sort of keep you limited because you don't want those things found out, right? So when you sort of accept that about yourself, you really don't care if those remain secrets. And so you can sort of gain that power and remove those triggers because you don't have any more secrets. Which is really just a another way of saying when you love the full self, the unified self, then there's a lot of things that can become easier, or a lot of things about you that can become more powerful and help and heal, not just yourself. Yeah, fun times. Pluto retrograde, love it. Um, Leads us into actually today in the outer stars or the other happenings. Um, Today is Wednesday the 15th, and the energy that's really affecting us today is Jupiter. Jupiter moved into Gemini, and so that extra energy, right, is sort of maybe even increasing your capacity, right? So um, sometimes they, or maybe back in the day, I don't know if they say anymore, you have to have a lot of nerve to sort of be able to lead, to act, to be in charge, right? So this Jupiter energy is really doing that today. And really, Jupiter, with all its abundance and increase in money and all that stuff, really is an increase in optimism, right? People are very optimistic, and life is pretty carefree when your basic needs are taken care of, or if you have an exorbitant amount of money and you become what's the word, recession proof, or election proof, all that stuff, right? When you're not affected by the larger world and you have enough stuff like that, right? So Jupiter sort of brings that energy. So pay attention to that. And then really today, a lot of times people will get a glimpse of power and they'll immediately try to discharge it, right? So this is almost like you start to feel a little weird. And then you're trying to look for a place, kind of like static energy, right? As soon as you touch something, that discharge happens and your body's like, oh, nice and calm, right? And so a lot of times when we get this power and this understanding, when the planetary systems sort of call us to account to be all that we can be, all we can be, like we're in the military, um, you really want to practice holding that power, right? How long can you hold that capacity? And really, what you're doing, that's almost like a workout. It's almost like a strengthening, right? The more capacity you have, right, the more capacity you can have, right? The better you are holding higher energies, and so you can stay in those higher vibrations. You can basically just operate at a higher field and not have to discharge and go back down to status quo, or short out and go even below status quo. So pay attention to that energy today, Wednesday. Tomorrow, Thursday, 6/6, June the 6th, is a power day of 6/6. Those go with all the months, right? So when it's January, it's 1/1. When it's February, it's 2/2, and so on and so forth. So we're halfway through the year on these power days. And so 6/6 is really a good day for manifesting. And when we get into sixes, six is really about the physical realm, things that have control of that. And so think about this day of really taking control of the manifesting cycle, right? All this higher mind stuff that starts in Aquarius in January is really sort of moving into physical reality, right? So what kind of upgrades spiritually, metaphysically, higher mindedness can we add into our physical reality, right? And maybe even overlay that and use those as lenses to look through what might be a shit show if we pay attention to news and stuff like that. Let's see. Oh, oh yeah. I was like, and there's a sentence on the next page that doesn't go with the sentences on the last page. So yeah, continuing for Thursday, it's a really good day if you're got the practice of meditation or even the Silva method of mind and mood alteration of brainwave shifting. You really might want to use that time or that skill on Thursday to sort of check in with soul, like, hey, soul, higher self, source. Am I in alignment with myself? And if there's any questions about like process or whatever, ask your soul like this or that, and sort of see what the answer comes. That's a good energy to do that on Thursday. Friday 6-7 is really the something on my face. Must be facial hair. Friday the 6th, the 7, so June 7th, is really the energy where it sort of peaks of that planetary alignment that we had on, I believe it was the 3rd. Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and of course the moon is all up in there with that too. Just sort of pay attention to that sort of cosmic energy, and you can sort of look at that and pay attention to whichever planet sort of seems to be coming through, right? It's an easy Google. What does Mercury do in astrology? And it will tell you certain answers on the Google. The other thing is Venus is passing behind the sun, so it should either have just emerged or be about to emerging on the 7th. And that leads us into the 8th, Saturday, 6-8. Is a 22 master day, right? So we had a 6-6 day, which is really about manifesting, building the life you want, using all the energy, that stuff. And then master day is really sometimes an extra day for that, or an action day. 11-11, 2-2-2. Those kinds of energies are master energies. And so all the stuff you're sort of working on, maybe the planet that sort of makes the most sense for you on 6-7 when you're looking at that alignment. Maybe it's time for you to master that part of your life. Everybody's chart's different, so there's not a unified sort of thing to tell you to do on that day, but it's a 22 master day, so sort of pay attention to what you're trying to master. Ooh, the smoke is just moving through, and I'm talking about y'all mastering your life. Maybe it's trying to tell us to master our life. Could be. Sunday, June the 9th, is really a day of action as well. And so be thinking about your alignment. What do you need to do? What action do you need to take? And so when you get clear on that, then you can actually take that action. So just sort of see like, what am I not doing? What could I've been doing? What I've been putting off doing? Sunday's a good day to either decide what that is and do it, or decide what that is and then act on it. Maybe Monday, looking at the next little line of things. It's like I can see the future because I wrote it down on the paper. Monday, June the 10th. Check your vision boards, right? If you don't have a vision board, get a vision board, right? What are you guiding your life by? Daily, what does it feel like? Or are you like moving towards a goal? What are you trying to create? What are you becoming? What are you building for your family? What are you building for your business? Is your body keeping up with you, right? Are you physically falling behind? Is your body collapsing while your career is rising, right? So look, check your vision board and sort of see this action that you're moving towards, these things that are happening in your life. Is it on your vision board? And if it's not, do you need to reevaluate your vision board and do that? Or better yet, maybe if it's not on there, you need to not do it. Hey, I'm doing extra shit that's not working on my vision. What am I doing? Of course, a lot of times we'll down the reasoning thing of, well, I have to because that get through those things, and then how long do you have to keep doing it if there are reasons you're doing it, and move back towards your vision, right? Because if you're not fulfilled, if you're not aligned with purpose, if you're not moving in your own direction, then all these things that you're doing for other people are going to deplete you, and then you're going to be less effective for them and yourself, right? And then you're that many miles behind of I should have been working on myself because now I'm I'm spent, right? And so it's just those kinds of things. The body has certain capacities that are limited when you fill your cup. It's there, right? And if nothing's filling it back, right, you can only empty your cup so much. And then, physical form, so on and so forth. Your divine eternal soul that's never going to die, but we're in this game of life, and there's certain kinds of capacities that we need to pay attention to. So just on Monday, reevaluate your vision board. Tuesday, 6/11, June the 11th. Really, on if you're doing what you're supposed to do, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, if you're flowing with the energy well enough on Sunday and Monday, then Tuesday you can really expect to have a big release, right? Whether that's a release of responsibility, um, or maybe it's even a karmic release of this lifetime, all the things that might have built up, woulda, coulda, shoulda, uh, you know, anger and deceit kind of stuff that might come up. But really, probably the most pronounced thing, especially if you're uber spiritual and you're like monitoring your inner life on a regular basis, this is probably um lifetimes worth of karmic release, right? You've been in a pattern for a while, but the planetary necessities are shifting, and the alignments and the sun and the earth's magnetic tilts and pole shifting is at such a place where those things are done with and you can let them go. So look for Tuesday to be a big release. That ends our week, of course, but just a couple of highlights of things that are coming for the rest of the month. 6/16 is Father's Day. Father's Day celebrated in the United States. I don't know. Father's Day is, I know it's a universal probably, but I don't know if the same date. But Father's Day, the energy around the planet some around Father's Day is really going to be what's the alignment of your family unit, and sort of paying attention to that. 6/20 is the summer solstice. 6/21, right there around the solstice, we have full moon. So that'll be some powerful energy looking for that. And then at the end of the month, Saturn rules, habits, stuff like that. Saturn goes retrograde, right? So you're going to want to figure this shit out this week, so that when you get to Saturn, the taskmaster that really goes, okay, here's the life you chose. Now, what rules do you want to live by to get there, or what rules would you like to install? And rules sound bad, we want to resist rules. So how about habits, or how about opportunities? What kind of opportunities you want to line up for yourself on a daily basis, probably based on a habit, which you can build into a rule, which functions as a principle, right? So that's this whole stack of things, right? When you have principles, these are certain things that you won't do, right? So you can call those rules, you can call them guards, you can call them bumper guards, you can call them parameters, but really those kinds of things on the 29th are going to be big time. Now that's all that's on my paper. Oh, did you see that? Did you get a screenshot? See how Jason takes his notes and why he rambles on when there's only bullet points. Yeah, it's been a weird day. It wasn't supposed to rain today, so I think there's something crazy going on the planet, which has got me a little frazzled. Like I didn't get everything in order this morning the way I wanted to sit in front of the computer and write minutes. But nonetheless, that is this week in the stars. I am Jason here at New Dimensions Crystals and Reiki, newdimensionscrystals.com. Until next week, everybody, many blessings.